Okay. All righty. It is 6:04 and we're going to call the committee to order. And my name is Tracy DeZenzo. I am the chair of the Transportation Committee on the Ocean Beach Planning Board. Blah, 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 blah. It's like, how much can I put in my mouth? Okay. All right. And like I said, we have five people on this committee. Yeah. And it looks like we have Susan and Andrea. Both of them are on the Ocean Beach Planning Board as well. Andrea is the chair of the Ocean Beach Planning Board, so it's always great to have her as part of a committee. And then the two people who are not here yet are Craig Klein and Bev McCullough. And I was told that Bev is running a little bit late, but I have not heard from Craig. So let's see. All right. So that handles who we are and how we're connected to the planning board. I am going to call for non-agenda public comment. Peter, your subject is an agenda comment. So unless you have something different that you'd want to talk about or bring up during this time, then I would just wait until we're talking about action item number 1. Do you have anything you want to add that's non-agenda public comment?
Yeah, let me see. Not really. I think it'll be covered in when we talk about the agenda item. So thank you.
Great. Andrea or Susan, do you have any non-agenda public comment? No, I do not either. Not relevant to the Transportation Committee. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and jump right in. Just as a background, Peter had reached out to the Ocean Beach Town Council recently and had sent an email basically saying, hey, there is this new law on the books, and I would like to see if we could make it applicable to parts of Ocean Beach. And it was AB 43 called traffic safety. And I had put a link to that legislation in the agenda. So hopefully people have had a chance to read it and take a look. But in a sense, what it does is it gives cities an opportunity to lower speed limits in areas where they feel it's needed. Peter had an idea of maybe lowering the speed limit during certain hours of the day to prevent some of the nighttime accidents. I'm not exactly sure that the bill itself could be utilized in that way, but I think that it would be an interesting discussion. So that's why I went ahead and brought it to the table today. So I think what I'm gonna do here is go just a little bit out of order, and I'm gonna let Peter talk about why he brought it to the town council and thus the board, the planning board, and then maybe we can kind of figure out where we're starting from. So
Okay.
Go ahead, Peter.
Thank you very much. Well, just a little preface. I'm one of the drummers down at the Wednesday night drum circle, in Veterans Park, and it's really dark down there. And one of the things that makes it kind of dark is that the street lights down there aren't operable. The lanterns along the street there, the only thing that really lights the place up is some security lights across the street that shine over toward the beach. But so that's sort of a general comment that would be nice if we could get those existing street lights replaced, get some globes in there that actually light the street up. If that's possible. But then the other thing is, and I live here on Oceanfront, right between Del Mar, at the end of Del Mar and Coronado. So I drive these streets at night pretty much. I've been a driver for Floral Fantasia, the flower shop at the corner of Niagara and Bacon. Work for Marjana Walmer. And so when I'm driving around here at night, it seems like, safely you can about idle your vehicle. With so many, virtually every intersection, there's at least a potential for a baby carriage, a bicycle, a skateboard, a pedestrian coming across it at night, and these people are virtually invisible, or they're impossible to see. So, and I think I've heard someplace that speed limits are established at something like 85% of the average speed of a street. I think something like that. And especially at night, I don't think anybody's going over 15 or 20 miles an hour. So, 25 is like hair-raising speed when it's that dark on, say, Bacon or Cable down around, past Newport. So it just seems to me that there ought to be a way to lower the speed limit, maybe in general, from, I imagine it's 25. There aren't many speed limit signs around, but I imagine it's 25. But if we could get it down to 20 or even 15, that doesn't mean everybody's going to go 15, but at least it would send a message that that's the safe speed to go, especially at night. And then I also came across this stuff. It's a glow in the dark, Rust-Oleum product. Anyway, you spray it on something and you don't see it during the day. It's invisible, but then at night, lights shine it up. So I'm thinking, I wonder if we could figure out a way to have speed limit signs that maybe have a daytime speed of 20 or 25. But then when headlights hit it, it would be painted in this thing and it would show up 15, Also, it seemed, I've been in certain places, campgrounds and things like that, where there are lanes and alleys and little dirt roads, where they have like 9.5 miles per hour. It sort of catches your eye. Okay, 9.5. And you try to go 10, it's really interesting. And like on our alleys at night, especially in OB also, it seems like there could almost be a different speed limit of 15 or, again, like I said, 10. So that was my first idea, that and then the other part of that is, as I was talking to Tracy about pedestrians, bicycles having the right of way no matter where they are, regardless of whether there's a bicycle painted on the street or not. They have the right of way because they're the vulnerable. They have the right to be there, and they're the vulnerable vehicle on the road. And so cars have the burden of giving them space, cars and trucks, anything with a motor. And I think people sometimes think it's worse to cross a double yellow line when you're going to go past a bicycle or something than it is to wait. So they'll try to squeeze past somebody and only leave you about 2 feet of space. And if you make a little wobble on your bicycle and they're right there in your lane. So it's almost like we could say, it's okay if you're passing a bicycle to cross that double yellow line in the middle of a block, something like that. We need to sort of make, rules a little more flexible. So that's my first thought, that just if we can, monkey around with those speed limits, that we should take another look at the speed limits in OB.
Okay, well, thank you. That's a lot of ideas, obviously.
Yeah.
And at this point, we're just going to talk about the AB 43 and whether or not it could be something that San Diego can use. Did anybody take a look at it or read it or have a comment about it or have questions about it?
Yeah, I read through it, and I was wondering as I read through it, if it's possible to have posted 2 different speeds, one for daytime and one for nighttime, so that maybe we could just have a slower speed posted, 25 daytime, 20 night. And I also wondered if we would be able to post signs around, just stating that bicycles have the right of way. If we posted an occasional sign, along with the speed limit sign. I don't know if that's an option or not, but that was kind of the things I was thinking about as I read through it, maybe having a different speed at night just to slow people down a little bit, and then having signs posted to remind people that pedestrians and bicyclists have the right of way. So I don't know if that's even an option or not, but that's what I was thinking about.
Mhm.
Andrea, do you have anything that you want to talk about?
I mean, I read it and it's just, right, it's just about giving local control. Moreover, we just have to, I guess, structure an argument in such a way that someone would want to take the time to then post those speed limits. But yeah, I don't
Yeah.
have much else besides that. I you know.
Yeah. So I mean, I think this is a great piece of legislation. I mean, allowing local governments to have more control over, you know, the speed limits in their areas. My concern is that San Diego is a giant area and Ocean Beach is not its own municipality. And there was a portion in this ordinance or this this initiative that they have here that says that a local authority shall not deem more than 1/5 of their streets as safety corridors. So if you think about that in terms of, you know, we're appealing to the city of San Diego to have this done, 1/5 is really not a lot of streets. Like, this is not something that we're going to be able to do in the entirety of Ocean Beach, because it's only 1/5 deemed safety corridors, right? So that might only be one main street in Ocean Beach that we could even request. So what I was thinking that we could do is decide what streets we would want this to have some kind of an impact, that we could ask for maybe a split speed limit, lower during the evenings, whatever, and then maybe we can just ask specifically for that location. And then that way we're not saying, hey, we want the entirety of Ocean Beach to be this way. And alleys, yeah, you know, it would be great. I think alleys have a built-in speed limit, but nobody really knows what those are anyways. They're just going to drive down their alleys, whatever. But again, like this one line in section 7 that says 1/5 of the streets, just kind of, it unfortunately isn't giving us the entirety of Ocean Beach to work with. It's only going to give us a small portion. So my thing is, okay, well, why don't we figure out what street would be the street that we want to ask for and try to advocate for that.
You know, I highlighted that same section in the regulation about that. And I was thinking about last month's meeting where we talked about, the bike ways, routes and all that. You know, I think we need to look at that loop or whatever. You know, for instance, we were talking about Bacon as a one-way street. Well, if Bacon is the main street that everybody takes on a bicycle, maybe that's the one we should look at. You know, for instance, I take Ebers a lot, but Ebers has these storm runoff depressions at almost every cross street. So everybody on Ebers kind of drives a little bit slower because otherwise you just ruin the suspension of your car. But that's not the same case, for instance, on Bacon. So you know, if we were going to pick one street, I think we need to do a couple of things. We need to look at the statistics on where the most accidents are happening that are bicycle related, and see if you know, if there's something that's some section of roadway that really stands out as an area where more accidents happen than other areas. So that would be one thing I think we should look at, but then also look at whatever the designated bike ways loop is around Ocean Beach and maybe pick the main streets that the bicyclists take.
And I mean, we're talking bicycles and pedestrians here too.
Yes.
So I mean, if we think about, you know, pedestrians as well, I mean, our business district downtown, you know, is heavily pedestrian. So it's like, okay, well, again, you know, we're starting to look at, this is needed all over OB, but the city isn't going to grant us the entirety of OB. They're just not going to do it. Not based on this initiative, you know? So, yeah.
I was just thinking though, I mean, if you took, say, the whole, I don't know how big OB is, but say the streets that are fairly, how it's designated, how much you actually have something to say about it. But, you know, some of the streets on the hill and so on wouldn't be as critical as, say, the downtown. So, I mean, you might be able to find 1/5 of the entire area might be designated as the downtown. You know, you might have more than 1 out of 5 streets in the downtown able to be designated if you don't designate, you know, another place. And one of the things that I was thinking too, that the first thing that I was saying about the drum circle, early in the pandemic, there was a skateboarder run over and killed on Voltaire.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, well, Voltaire may be, at least for skateboards and and bikes and so on, maybe one of those safety corridor possibilities. But that's just a couple.
Yeah, and we've discussed Voltaire numerous times. Most like a lot of Voltaire is actually in the Peninsula Planning District, so you know they have purview over that, and I think it starts at Ebers and goes east. The area from Ebers to about Sunset Cliffs area is not as pedestrian active as a little bit further, you know, west, but I don't know. I mean, Andrea probably has more experience on like what kinds of things we can ask and, you know, just ask for and maybe get. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think our best plan of action would be to tackle this? You're like, well, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. And like you said, I mean, you just ask, but you have to have specific reasons. I mean, especially if it's a certain area. Obviously, it would have authority coming from the planning board, I guess. So yeah, you just have to be extremely specific and make sure you're, you know, choosing what you want to choose. I would ask for the entire 1/5 at once, just to not be.
1/5 of what? I don't know. You cut off and I didn't know.
I would ask for the entire 1/5 at once.
Okay. Okay. So I think Susan had like a really great idea to find out, like actually pull the traffic incidences, the accident reports of our area. And I have no idea how we're going to figure out if Ocean Beach is 1/5 or what area is 1/5. But I mean, I think this is valid and something that we should research and try to figure this out. And then I don't think they're going to give us the entirety of OB, but definitely if we can find the streets that have the highest accident rates, at least reported accident rates, I think that would be helpful in our to our benefit if we present that information. And I do know where to go to get that information. Not sure if we really need to make a motion right now because we're not going to approve anything. But what we can do is table this so that we can do some further research and then possibly bring it back during our next meeting with that research. And then we can kind of focus in on maybe the streets or the areas that we want to request. Does that sound like a plan? Okay.
Sounds good.
All right, cool. Awesome. And Peter, if you have any data that you want to send to me about, you know, people, I mean, I don't want to say anecdotal, but if you have any data at all that you can send, that would help. I do have a link to get accident reports and violations and stuff like that, so we can look through that. It's a giant Excel sheet. Again, those are just reported accidents and accidents that police have responded to. It's not going to be the fender benders that happen and people deal with their insurance. So, you know, the data is always just a little skewed because you know. I mean, I could probably pull every social media post about people complaining about getting hit in, you know, on intersections, but that's not going to be the type of data that we need to write a request. So does anybody else have any ideas for this? Nope. Okay. All right. So,
I'm sorry, I jumped in late.
no,
so-
that's okay, Bev. We just wrapped up talking about AB 43, the traffic safety. And the next thing that we're going to do is we're not going to make a motion on this, but we are going to table it so that we can do more research and try to locate specific areas within Ocean Beach that are more in need of like a dual speed limit. So at this point, it's just more research. Okay.
As I say, Tracy, if there's some way you can use me for, I'm retired and I got time and, you know.
Awesome. I love that. I love
Mhm.
volunteers.
Sure,
Because
great.
I am not retired and I don't have a lot of time.
Let me know.
All right, cool. Okay, so we'll go ahead and move on to action item number 2. And this was also something that Peter had brought to the town council. And it's basically I've heard some things about this, but it's basically a question of does the planning board want to suggest or write a letter to the city asking them to replace all of our electric powered street and traffic lights with solar powered lighting? Wow. I mean, that's a huge ask. So
Actually, yeah, my thought was, and this is sort of is not that necessarily, that's not what I was suggesting.
okay.
No, that's not what I was that's not where I was going. You know, if they've got some electricity to burn, that's great. What I'm thinking is, like on our very dark cable Bacon Abbott between Newport and West Point Loma, let's say at night. And I live up here, you know, in oceanfront in the Del Mar, Coronado area, and ride my bike around, walk a lot. Anyway, and I'm thinking, and I was riding down from Chatsworth on Orchard one night on my bike, and it was dark, and I smashed into this black trash can that was out on the street, right in a dark spot. And I remember thinking, man, it's dark right now. I can't quite see in front of me. Boom. And I hit this thing, hit the ground, and my finger is still kind of messed up, and I'm going to have it x-rayed and all that stuff. And so my thought is, well, you know, we have these signs up with solar panels on top of them that tells you what speed you're going, you know, those sort of yellow things that say you're going 32 and you're in a 25, that sort of thing. And I'm thinking, well, can't we just put those solar panels? You know, people are getting them free on their houses and everything. I mean, cities should be able to get their hands on some of these things and mount them on corners where there aren't streetlights. That you can have a couple panels up there with lights that focus down, that light up the intersection. That would help anybody who's driving see people at the intersection with baby carriages, scooters, bicycles, pedestrians, etc. You know, so utilize the sign, the street, the posts we already have, whether it's a street sign post or a speed limit sign post, stop sign post, any old sign post. Maybe they could, if they need to, reinforce them a little bit. And of course, it would be, you know, some expense, and I wouldn't expect every corner, but if they could judiciously figure out how to put a couple of, 1 or 2 of these per block or something in nice, you know, areas. Again, pointing down, you wouldn't add any light pollution to you know, the sky, and then, you know, if you're doing some of the speed limits too, you just sort of basically make it a much safer traffic area and pedestrian area. Because San Diego, and I'd moved here from Iowa about 6 years ago. And, you know, the thing that really impressed me about San Diego and California in general, but San Diego especially, people are out all time, all night, all hours of the night. You know, back where I come from, everything is closed at 8 o'clock. You don't see people out around. Here, people are out till 8, 10 o'clock at night. So, and especially kids, you know, down at the drum circle, we have kids down there until 8 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night. And so this is a highly people are out at night, they walk around and stuff. That's when they do their jogging or whatever. So I just think it's a very, not unique, but in a way it's unique. We have a place that is very well used, people walking Sunset Cliffs and all that. So I'm just thinking, heck, with all this low tech technology of a few solar panels up there, again, they might have to strengthen the sign a little bit, but it just seems like a really possible thing to do to make things safer and more beautiful. You could see the place at night rather than just darkness,
All right.
and safer,
Yeah.
for women jogging at 2 a.m. or whatever, they would feel better. Or again, if I had kids and I'm sending them down on their bicycles down and it's 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, dark at night, I would feel a lot better if I knew that they had some light on the street.
Yeah. Okay, well, I actually interpreted your request to be much more grandiose.
And that's cool
And
too.
That's why I was
You
like,
do
all
that.
of the lights, let's do all of the lights. So like, obviously it would be really awesome if the entire city was solar, and all of our lights were controlled by that and not by electricity, but we can definitely scale back the ask. Does anybody have any comments or anything that they want to say about this at this point?
I think it's a great idea. I go out and walk our dog at night, and we do have a street light on our corner, but there's none on Evers, and it's pretty dark. And I've been thinking about that, about how folks get along, at nighttime when they get on home or whatever, and the safety. When you start reading all these things on Nextdoor and whatever, alleys aren't safe anymore. Nothing good happens in an alley, I told my grandkids this weekend. So, which is a shame. So I think having the lights, I think that's a great idea, Peter.
Oh, thanks, Beth.
And I don't know if any of you have been down to Shelter Island at night, but the Port District has installed these overhead streetlights that come on as you walk underneath them and then go off again as soon as you're out of range. They're on sensors, motion sensors, and they're solar powered. And so I'm sure they're probably fairly expensive, but I bet there's things like that might work on a smaller scale for what we're looking for, that would be very efficient. They would come on as soon as a person or somebody approaches the fixture and then go off again once you're past. So it wouldn't necessarily be a continuous light that might be bothering somebody that lives in a house next door or something, and then it would just come on and go off again. So.
And that was done by the Port District?
Yeah, if you walk down along the waterfront there at Shelter Island, there's these really nice overhead lights that just come on, and as soon as you walk out of range, it goes off again, and then the next one comes on. So it's really neat.
Yeah, that's a good concept.
I think that might be the only feasible solution. I know the reason why we don't have streetlights is to prevent light pollution.
Right.
There is a big faction that takes that extremely seriously. So I think that's would otherwise be a non-starter if you didn't have motion sensor lights.
Yeah.
Well, yes, but similarly, see, these things would be a lot closer to the street. Street lights that we have are like 30 feet in the air, and yeah, they light up a lot of area and create a lot of light pollution. But these, I think, being closer to the ground, LEDs, using a lot less power, I think would actually, if these substituted for the big tall ones and worked well, you would actually have less overall.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you that there is like Andrea said, there is a really large light pollution faction, and they don't want any lights, regardless of how safe lights make a community or not. They're still like, we don't want any lights, and this has been going on for many, many years, where the city has actually decreased the lighting that they're doing because we have so many people that complain about light pollution. So, and we've all noticed that in our communities, it has become less and less safe for people because there's no damn lights anywhere. So, I did not know that the Port District was doing these light sensor lights, and I actually think that's a really great idea. if the Port District can have it, then we can too, right?
Yeah, I mean, it means there's some,
Andrea's smiling.
it
So,
means that at least the technology is available, so.
right, right. I mean, I don't think there's harm in asking for it, right? And it's, you know, we can request this. Jen Campbell is just now, you know, asking for budget items, and, you know, we're going to be probably putting together a list in the planning board eventually, and having a list of things that we would like to see in OB. So maybe this is something that we can ask for, you know. But I do think it's important that we identify the locations so that, again, we're not asking for the entirety of OB, we're only asking for specific areas, and especially staying away from places that are more residential, because, you know, we definitely don't want the people who live, you know, and we just don't want the light shining in people's houses all day or all night. So I think this is another thing that we might want to do a little bit of research on, to try to figure out like what the darkest areas are. As a side note, there was something that I wanted to do with the town council like a year or so ago. I had come up with this idea for guerrilla lighting. And it was part of like an enhancement project that I wanted to do through the town council, where the town council would purchase those solar powered lights that you just put on fences and put them in dark areas of town and just guerrilla light, you know, OB. It obviously didn't go anywhere, but, you know, that's the kind of thing that I would like to see happen more, is just get more like low light that isn't going to shine up into the sky, but is going to illuminate certain dark areas of Ocean Beach. So I did give that request to the Ocean Beach Enhancement Committee. I don't know what they're going to do with it, and I'm not on that committee. So, but I think that this is something that maybe we can do a little bit more research, find the darkest areas, and then put in a request for these motion sensor lights. I think that would be really cool. You think that'd be awesome? Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think,
like if we can keep it out of, you know, residential lot, you know, windows,
Yeah.
and that kind of stuff.
and I don't think we need to make a motion on this, because we still need to do that research. Maybe I'll sick Kevin on this one, because Kevin's really good about wandering around the streets and finding like all the places that are, you know, needed things. Maybe I'll ask him to do that.
Well, and how about asking, I forget what her name is, the bicycle folks?
Nicole,
Yeah, I mean, she could probably tell you off the top of her head, right?
like the darkest corners. Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. All right, so again, I don't think that we need to make a motion on this, unless, Andrea, you think that this is something that maybe we can make a motion to bring up with the board when we talk about budget.
Yeah, I mean, we could certainly make that motion. I don't think it's, you know, necessary to,
Yeah.
though, but if we want to have like a full supportive of what the transportation is requesting, then sure. But I think it can be brought up either way.
Yeah, I don't think we need to make a motion. I don't, you know, we're all in favor of having some lights, and I think that that would be something that we can ask for. But again, we just need to figure out where. Okay, does anybody else have anything else that they want to add to this item? No? Okay. So we're gonna wrap it up really quick, but does anybody have any items for future agendas?
Excuse me, I put in I kind of sent feelers out about what we were talking about of the Sandag flexible fleets, and they have like this whole process to request a formal presentation. I don't know if they would come through the transportation committee, but I still, are we still interested in having them come and present even to the full board and just passing this committee?
I wouldn't
Yeah.
think that it would be of value to them to come to this committee. I mean,
Okay.
we're so small, right? And we're just advisors to the planning board. So, I mean, why do it twice? I would say let's just go directly to planning board for that.
Okay,
Yeah,
continue to pursue that. Okay, wonderful.
cool. Like you have a lot on your plate already, you know, just add one more
Oh,
thing.
There's a little form you got to fill out.
What is it, like 20 pages? You know, you got to
No.
promise your firstborn. No. All right. Okay. Anybody else have anything that they would think that the transportation committee needs to discuss?
Nope.
All right. Okay. Really simple. I love fast meetings. Okay. So we're going to call it at 6:40 and let's just figure out who's going to do the research. I'll try to find that out. I'll have Peter do all the research for us. All right. All right, guys, that's it.
Okay,
Thank
see
you.
you. Thanks. Take care.
Okay.
Bye, guys.